contact. Also put my contact information in the chat.
Perfect. Thanks, Michael. Well, yeah, if you don't mind jumping in, I think you should be able to share your screen if you've got a presentation, and I'll let you take it away.
Great. Nice to meet everybody. My name is Michael Falato. I have about 25 years in sales, enterprise sales, software sales, high-tech sales, and this is kind of who I've worked for in the past, just to give you an idea who I am. But basically, I do email, LinkedIn, job apply automation, and RoundTable. The whole idea is if you spend less time hunting and more time selling, you're going to have a better life, because the hunting part is monotonous. Most people kind of hire kids to do this, and it's not always the best experience. So I've been doing this for, like I said, for 25 years. I worked for small companies, startups, tech companies. I worked for TechStation and brought in NFL, doing SMS for them, USTA, AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, about 35 professional sports teams. This TechMate company I worked for was $250K 2 years ago. And within a year, I got them to 2.8 million. Now they're at 6 million. So if you have enough in the top of funnel, then you can focus in on better activities of selling. And that's really where I get into. The current state of many organizations is that they'll actually have a lot of phone calls going out. They'll do account-based marketing, which is important. But you need to have a tier 2 and tier 3 approach. And tier 1 should be, hey, I got my top 30 accounts. I'm going to do research. I have your salespeople going out there and making sure they understand why they should be contacting them. But it's not really a repeatable and scalable process, and you need to have more than just a tier 1 approach. So there's a lot of databases out there, ZoomInfo. What else is there? There's a whole plethora of them that they sell. 20% of all data is bad within 2 months. So you need to kind of always have something that's coming in that has new data. And if you look at it, it's probably around 50 cents to $1 per name on ZoomInfo. So you want to have, if you can get someone to do it that has the database, the delivery tool, and also a way to scrub the data and use a separate email server, that's really important, because you can ruin your domain. If you're doing automation on LinkedIn, you can ruin your LinkedIn profile as well. And anybody that wants this stack, I'll send it to you so you don't have to worry about taking copious notes. And then Taylor's recording as well. A lot of people are using things like HubSpot, Pardot, Outreach, and they're hooking it up to their Gmail and Office 365, and it's automation. That's how you ruin your domain. Really, those platforms are meant for nurturing, lead scoring. Take that, they clicked on a white paper, they came into your site, the email's good, and they are kind of opted in. Cold outreach needs to have a different methodology. So I said this a little bit earlier in the conversation. Definitely want to spend more time with demo calls, closing. If you look at Salesforce, they basically started the whole SDR approach, right? Like, let's feed our sellers, and so they're not doing this with their pipe. So it's very important to kind of keep your pipe fully stacked versus kind of doing the whole up and down. Another important thing is to look at subdomains. Subdomains is like, if you'll start seeing them if you pay attention. You'll see like m.domain.com, marketing.domain.com, marketing, whatever. It's just all these are things so people use, so they don't burn their own email outreach. So it's important to set those up. If you look at how to set them up, it's pretty difficult. It's actually like a level 3, level 4 engineer that knows how to talk to about DKIM, DMARC, MX, all those different records that I have no clue even what they mean still. And I've been doing this for a long time. You want to understand your domain health as well. So that's something you should definitely look into. You have to also verify the email addresses before they go out. There's different platforms for that. There's some platforms that say they do it, but you want to sometimes double check that as well. And I don't know how many people here are automating their they're automating their drips. But you should be doing 3-4 emails to 5 to 6 people inside of a company, because people will pass around your messages to each other in case they're not the right person. And if you could I could send 20 to 30,000 emails a month to the right people with the right message and personalize it. Even like, hey, I hope you're enjoying your Tuesday afternoon. It's important to look like it's personalized and it's real time. It's not a bot. So that's kind of what I do personally. And then obviously with LinkedIn and email, I'm saying LinkedIn and invites, you have invites, you have emails on LinkedIn. It's important not to spend your whole time clicking on buttons or hiring a virtual assistant in the Philippines to click on and pretend like they're you. It's not necessarily the best thing because they'll look at where the server is and what they're doing, and they'll ding you. LinkedIn will say, "Are you you have automation? Do you have somebody representing your profile?" The platforms I use, you can't tell. It looks like a human behavior to do it. So the whole idea is like, what's your KPIs on this whole approach? If you understand, how many means you're looking to get, what's the average open rate? That's important. Doing A/B testing as well is very important. Have different subject lines, different bodies, different groups, separate all those different campaigns so that you can say, turn this one on, turn this one off, move this over here. I'm getting 15 to 30% open rates on my particular clients, which equals about 10 to 20 meetings a month. Obviously, if each meeting then turns into a sale, a lot of these people are getting $3,000 to $5,000 a month on their subscriptions or the projects and so forth. When you're writing these emails, a lot of people will send me their marketing emails, and the whole idea there is to really look at who cares, so what, why are you bugging me, and how's this going to help me? What is the fear of missing out? You definitely got to look at all those different things and not stop writing about marketing, what you do and how you do it, because that will not resonate to get a meeting. The whole idea of this is to try to get a meeting versus try to sell a product in the whole approach. Another thing that you want to look at is how do you not have to duplicate the data? A lot of the platforms will connect to HubSpot, Salesforce, so you got to make sure that the platforms that you're using has a real-time API. I said this a little bit earlier about the data being updated. You need to have Crunchbase if you're going after startups and then so forth. You need to have Sales Navigator to basically, so people like myself could scrape the data, scrape the list that you want to go after. I personally go after companies that are posted a job for lead gen, for sales, for SDRs. So if you have a service that replaces kind of someone, it's not a bad thing necessarily to kind of say, well, you know what? If they're posting a job for an engineer and I basically have engineering help, why not send them a message or apply for that job? So there's automation for that. Another good trick is, at the trade shows, a lot of people will just kind of stand by the booth, go out to the other booths and say hi, take the list from the trade shows and do a drip email and LinkedIn approach, try to set up meetings. So you can use this automation approach to also affect live meetings as well. And that's pretty much, the rest of this would be something more about what I do and how I sell it, which I don't want to go into sales pitch on this call because it's really more about education. But if anybody wants to book a time with me, there's a link for my calendar in that chat, but I'm open to questions at this point.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. You went through a bunch of things. I think there are a couple of questions in the chat. The first one, just asking if you have a list of tools that you like. I think that came up when you were going through that last slide, talking about those different services that you use. Do you have a tool set you like?
I have a tool set I like. I don't normally give it out when I'm doing a pitch. This is not a pitch, so I'm going to give it out. I'm going to be more of a helpful guy today instead of a hoarder of the information. But I use Link Helper for LinkedIn. It's not that easy to use, so it's important to either really learn it or hire someone that knows it. I use Apollo instead of ZoomInfo. Again, Apollo is very cheap, but you only get a very set number of credits and contacts when you buy it yourself for for $100, $200 a month. I use a thing called Lazy Apply to apply for jobs. And I do that for like an SEO company, for me, for a couple other companies that are looking for a particular thing that they solve for. And then I use LinkedIn, email, and Zoom for my roundtables. And the roundtables are really like this. But I do roundtables for companies to help bring people to talk about what do you do, how do you do it, why do you do it, what do you want to get out of this meeting today, and what do you want to give, and what's your superpowers. So that's what I kind of do. It's very similar to this approach, breakout rooms, but it's company focused to drive them leads to be that thought connector, and also gets them, like when I do it, it gets me leads. That's why I do it as well. But what's the other question? Can you explain what the risk or problem is to domains that require protection management? So bounce rates above 10% will start affecting your domain. Unsubscribe clicks will also affect your domain. If you start using HubSpot and other platforms, start emailing a couple hundred emails a day, people unsubscribe or bounces, you'll start seeing like what happened to me at TechMate when I first started there. All of our emails internally to our own people started bouncing, or not bouncing, started going to spam, and they don't get delivered. So email deliverability is very important. If you don't have someone that really understands email and DKIM and DMARC and SPF records and MS records, which I do, it's really hard to do it. You want to use things like SendGrid. SendGrid is what we connect the strip marketing program to, the email platform. What is any advice on what you do if your domain is already in trouble? There's set up a subdomain, for every client I talk to, even while I'm talking to them as a prospect, I'll get like, perchpeak.us or get something.com, right? I'll put a GET before it. So I'll get an alternative domain. You should never mix marketing outreach, transactional outreach, and day-to-day outreach in the same domain. And I mean that by, you could put like mail dot, customer dot, marketing dot, and use the same domain, or you can get separate domains for mass outreach, which is what I would suggest for what I do. That's kind of why I actually go to GoDaddy as soon as I talk to somebody, because I'm like, $8 a year, I can handle that, even if I don't work with them. What do you think are the best ways or questions you can qualify your leads? Probably BANT, I make sure the filtering is done the right way with the client. So I look at, let me share my screen again. So there's all these, actually, let me show you the newer one. This is kind of so in the platform I'm using now, it even has buying intent. So if you look at buying intent, you look at they opened up the email, if you look if they posted a job about something, there's a lot of ways that you can figure out, is this going to be a good approach or not? And then you can A/B test it. So there's 250 million people in the one I use. And you can see here, I'm getting 40, 50, 80% open rates. I'm getting 10 to 20 meetings a month. This company closed Qualcomm for $200,000 because of me. They were paying $5K a month. So they already tripled their money with one client. So and then the platform I use, like I said, it connects to SendGrid, Salesforce, HubSpot, it has a Zapier API. So all the data that I use goes into someone else's platform or CRM as well. The LinkedIn does basically connection requests, emails, messaging to groups, follows, inviting to events. Again, who wants to sit there and press buttons all day? I encourage you guys to come off of mute and ask questions as well, because you might want to follow up on a question after you ask it versus just saying it on chat. I won't bite.
Hey, Michael.
Yeah, Caleb.
Yeah, that'd be a lot easier. I agree. Yeah, that was my question, and so that answered it. And I also think, just for clarity, what platform was that you were showing in the previous slides?
Which one?
The past two slides that you were showing the difference. Yeah, qualifying. One more back. Yep.
This is Apollo.
And the slide after is still Apollo, where you can filter the qualifying.
Correct.
Parameters. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Could you drop the link in the chat? I'm curious to take a look at that.
Sure.
Michael, what has made you choose Apollo over other competing services? Because that was one that we looked at and have toyed with, but would love to get your take on that.
Well, I have 25 or 30 clients on there, so I get a different price than you would. They're much cheaper than Zoom. Zoom has good info. Zoom has cell phone numbers. I don't make phone calls for clients, so I don't really need Zoom. I think the people that built Apollo were from Outreach, so they have a very good sequencing engine. None of this stuff is perfect, but for what I get and the margins I have, I'm doing pretty well. I mean, I built my company to 650 the first year. Last year I got to win $1 million, and it's two of us. So that's not bad for a guy to just start his own company. You know, I started a little bit late in life, but I've been a software guy making good money, 200, 250, 200K, and go like, why would I ever start my own company? I don't know how to do it. And then stumbled on this when I was working at TechMate, and I'm like, wait, I could make a lot more money keeping this for myself. So this is a repeatable, scalable approach where I didn't have to build my own SaaS. Otherwise, you have to build your own software, hire engineers, build all this stuff, and always be putting money in development. Yeah, I can't sell this for 10 to 20x, maybe at exit, but I don't know if I need to. You know, I just hired a guy, and now I can hope maybe gross to 2 to 3 million. That's a pretty nice life still. So,
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. You've done a great job.
Michael, I have a question.
Sure, go ahead, Spencer.
So what does a company usually expect to pay per month or something like that?
This is 5K a month is what I charge. So I basically say, here's my deliverables with 20,000 emails a month, 150 emails a day. 2 of these type roundtables that you're doing right now. And I set up even a HubSpot for them. And I go, listen, you can hire an SDR for 5K a month, who is someone just graduated college that has no idea what they're doing yet. Not that they're stupid, it's just that's the first job, right? And then you got insurance, lead generation cost. You got to handhold them, and you're going to be getting maybe 80 to 100,000 touches, where I'm going to be doing 300 to 400,000 for the same price. So I usually close about half of my deals because they're like, I'm like, go hire someone who just started their life, or go hire a 52-year-old guy that has a nickname Full Throttle. You know, I mean, I'm an Air Force guy, and I got that from a Marine. That just kind of gives you an idea of where like my intensity is.
That's cool. I'm impressed. It's really cool.
Thank you.
That's a really nice nickname, from a Marine to Air Force.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so that's kind of how I got it. It's not just because he knew me, but because we spar. And he's a Marine, and he's a cop at Orlando Police Department. He's like, you always full throttle, full auto. I'm like, what'd you say? That rhymes. So I just took the nickname before I even had a company. I'm like, wait, what should I call this thing? It's always been my daughter's name, like Faith Wood, Faith something. I'm like, no, this needs to be a little more about my personality.
That's awesome. Michael, what would you say for someone who is just starting into this like lead generation and getting their company off the ground? What are some of the stumbling blocks that you've seen companies make or entrepreneurs make, and what are some suggestions you would have to get started?
I think there's a lot of STEM people starting up new companies that focus in on product and not business. And if you don't have revenue, it's gonna be really hard to raise money or to run your company. So I see that's a big deal with folks that are really way too technical. They need to either A, outsource it, or B, hire someone that's the business side, and they split up priorities. Then the other thing would be what I did, is they get HubSpot and they get a Zoom info, and they basically ingest a bunch of data, and they start sending out hundreds of emails out of HubSpot using Zoom. And very expensive. Sequencing on HubSpot is very expensive. The free version does not give you sequencing, so need to preface that. And then Zoom info is probably 50 cents to $1 per name. I get the data for less than 10 cents, so I pass that on to my clients. I see this. You listed the bullet point SDRs that have the same domain as the main emails. Could you explain that a bit? Is that a pain point typically for outsourced SDRs? SDRs that have the same domain as their main emails. Yeah, I mean, you have to have a separate domain if you're going to be basically sending out a lot of emails. And a subdomain is mail.fullthrottle.com versus Michael@fullthrottle.com. The mail.m.fullthrottle That's a subdomain approach. In the internet eyes, email eyes, that's seen as a separate domain.
And that
But
way
what I like to-
you don't break whatever Gmail account you have linked or whatever business account you have linked.
No, it's you got to set up your DNS. You got to set up a subdomain. It's an engineering feat, and I had that engineer that does it. He works for Coca-Cola, but I can't do it. You know. But what I like doing even more is getting like fullthrottle.us. It's not my domain. It's pretty close, because some people have said to me, you know, I'm having emails, my main emails go to spam, and I have nothing to do with that. So I'd rather almost say, you know what, I'm not even touching your main domain by putting a subdomain. I'm using a .us, has nothing to do with your main domains. You can't even say that that's what we're doing. So for me, I'd rather take the ambiguity of something's happened, because there's a lot of things that happen around an email address internally in a company. People, I don't know what they're doing, so I don't want to be part of the finger that someone could point. So for me, I'd rather spend $8, get a domain under my name and pay for it, even get a Gmail account that I use just to pass through to SendGrid and pay for that. That's another $6. So I'm in it for $12 just to make sure I'm not dealing with their IT. And then the third thing is dealing with someone's IT team. It's a 2-hour call, and they're always like, why do you need this? Who are you? Blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to deal with that either. So listen, we know what we're doing. And if you have a big problem with this, we'll just use another domain, another inbox. Your person can check that inbox, or we can forward all the emails to their real inbox. But if you guys try to do this yourself, which I wouldn't recommend, there's going to be a lot of issues you're going to learn. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying I already learned from my mistakes, and the data alone is probably worth hiring a guy like myself. But
yeah, that's helpful. That's great advice, Michael. I think you've got the RoundTable slide up. Is that like similar to a webinar, or what? Can you talk a little bit more about what you're doing right now?
It's what you're doing, Taylor. It's like, hey, here's who I didn't come on this beginning, but if like what you explained to me when I got on the call, it's, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's why we're talking. I want everybody to interject and talk about 60 seconds, who you are, what you want to give and what you want to get, what's your superpowers, and what tip or trick can you share with the group. If we have more than 10 people, I break out in Zoom rooms and you guys talk to each other. It's more of a networking, exchange business. So that's what I do with this one. For me, this one was one from one of my clients where they did more of education on all the resumes that are the tsunami of resumes that are coming in because of the whole layoffs. I actually helped the guy run for mayor in Chicago. They're voting today, and he's a pretty good chance to win. If you know anything about Chicago, they need something else. And then I've also even made my own groups. Like, why should I pay other people to be part of a group when I can make my own? Because you use LinkedIn and email to drive people to a group or to an event. So if you could send out 20 to 30,000 emails, which you can't do on a polish, you know how to do it. And if you probably won't figure out how to do LinkedIn Helper to do 200 or 300 invites a day. You already do it because
a comment. I can't stress enough how important this is, and even at a higher level of who is the registrar for these domains. And Michael, I know exactly what you're talking about. I did it for a very long time and got people in and out of trouble. They got themselves into trouble and I got them out of it, or I warned them not to get themselves into trouble messing with domain names and MX records. But can you speak about who the registrar is?
most of the registrar, I had them use a subdomain. That's what my email engineer wants them to do. So they're the registrar on that domain because it's a subdomain.
Your engineer is the registrar, not you yourself.
No, for when we do this for clients, the registrar, the person that owns the website or the domain, is my client, not me.
Oh, okay. So I just need to let people know just a little bit about the history of how this all evolved, at least in my careers. When a company, a small business, like Tate's Rents. That's not the name of the company, but we'll use it. Tate's Rents said, hey, I want to go online. I need to be able to have people book when they want to hire a crane, or they need some traffic barriers or something like that. I said, okay, great. Do you have a domain name? They said, no. I said, okay, I did some search. These are the available names. And who's already doing your marketing for you? And he named the company. I said, don't give them these names. He did anyway. They became the registrar for that domain name, which was the name of their business. And they held them by the short hairs to say, hey, look, now I own the domain. Now you have to web host with me and do your email through me.
Harley, that's a great point. You get some slimy people that buy that domain for somebody and they put their name on it. They're the owner. They're their owner. So you should, anybody that's doing this should learn how to go on GoDaddy and register their own domain name. So
don't share that with any, and don't give it up to anybody else. So there can only be one registrar.
You can GoDaddy has administration permission approach where you can say, let this person, like I have people in my GoDaddy messing with my website and DNS stuff once in a while, but they only have certain rights.
Right.
But yeah. But the one I do like, to be honest with you, when I do get that domain for somebody, now I own it. So I do have them a little more of a sticky for them. But if they said, hey, like one of my clients said, hey, pass that to me before I even worked with them. Because I thought, well, that's not yours, but I don't care. Here, I'm not one of those guys that's gonna hold you hostage. But it is definitely dangerous to
well, I had a guy call me or email me and said, hey, I like your domain name. I want to buy it. And I go, I would rather lease it to you, because if you fail to renew the domain, it goes into the ether and somebody else will own it. So why don't I just give you permission to use it? And if you stand it up, host it, blah, 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 good for you.
Or just buy it for 10 years, spend $80 and get over with.
Yeah. But guess what happened? He said, okay, what do you want for it? We set a price, $2,400. He said, I'll set up a escrow.com account. I'll pay for all that, transfer of me. I didn't get the money until I did the domain exchange through GoDaddy. He got it. Guess what? He never stood it up, had it for 3 years. I missed renewing it by 3 days. So now guess who owns it? GoDaddy. GoDaddy now owns the domain that I.
Yeah. Well, any other questions on let's see.
Yeah,
I had one question. Short on time. Could I slip one in, Taylor, just to?
Yeah, we've got
Michael
about 2
here?
minutes, so go ahead. This can be our last question.
Hey,
Thanks,
first off,
Ed.
thank you for the presentation. Appreciate the content and the time and effort it takes to put that together. This is great. Just wanted to ask a little bit more about you. Kind of, I was a little slow catching up with what you were saying about your LinkedIn strategy, but could you just hit the kind of the high points about what you're doing on LinkedIn? I'm curious about that.
How I do LinkedIn strategy?
Yeah. You don't have to go to all. We only have a couple minutes, but I'd love to hear kind of the high points about how you approach.
It's
LinkedIn.
really like you need to have your LinkedIn profile with your logo in the background, what you do in your next to your name. There's not people say sales expert. You're not a sales expert. Let's talk about what you do for who and why. Like if you look at mine, I have a little biographic thing. Then you want to join as many groups as you can, because on groups you can send first messages to them without having to have emails. That's a big thing. You want to have sales navigators so you can filter as much as you can. And then obviously you want an automation tool that can automate all that. That's about it. I mean, and then I use like 5 to 6 people from my company and automate their LinkedIn. And one of them is my wife, 2 are my kids, and 2 people are friends of the family. So I have 6 profiles and I'm busting 200 to 300 invites a day out. And 3 of them don't even work for me. But they let me use their profile because one works at Disney, one's a high school kid. So I just want to set out enough messages to get meetings booked. So the whole idea is not have your CEO just uses LinkedIn. Figure people out that you can make a fake profile, but it's dangerous. I do have a one that I've made, but I haven't used it yet. I did have one that I did make, and I wanted proof of life, and I couldn't, so it got shut down. So it's hard to make a new profile and then automate it right away. You got to warm up. You got to warm up email. You got to warm up domains. You got to warm up LinkedIn. You got to warm up a lot of things in life before they, especially your wife.
Were you saying too that you were using LinkedIn to look for like job postings and things like that, or were you looking for job postings on other sites and then using that information to inform your LinkedIn outreach?
Both. So I would scrape job boards using data scrapers on Chrome extensions. I have a thing called Lazy Apply that allows me to apply it. I bought 3 of those for $200 a year, and that I send out 1,000 applications a day sometimes. You got to be careful of how you do it, because you could get shut out if it looks like you're using a bot. But Indeed's pretty easy to do, but LinkedIn, you got to be careful because that's your profile. The platform Apollo has a way to look for people that posted a job. Angel.co is a startup job board, built in Boston, built in this. And this is all things that I do as part of why I get paid. So
Michael,
thanks for sharing.
Yeah, this is amazing. You've shared a lot of information. I would like to book a time with you, so I'll go through your Calendly link in the chat. And I'd invite anybody else, if you've got additional questions, is it okay if they book a time with you, or if they want to learn more about what you're doing at your company?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to book a time, it's more about, for me, sales, not educating people how to do what I do. But because it's just I have too many meetings in a day to kind of teach people for free, unfortunately.
That's good. We can qualify your leads that way. So if you're interested in hiring Michael, book a time.
Yeah. Or if you have a client that might be interested, then I'll pay you a referral fee. So it doesn't have to be necessarily you. And if say, hey, 5,000 is too much, I can't do all that, can you just help me with LinkedIn? I could do that for a couple thousand a month as well. It could be crawl, walk, run, where you get some clients, you're like, shit, now I can hire Michael for roundtables, Lazy Apply, emails, and LinkedIn. So I'm all looking for a win-win whenever I work with people. What are you doing? How much do you charge for what you sell? Does it make sense? I mean, if you sell something for $30 a month, and it's like, say it's SEO, it's $30 a month, and you might get it up to $50 a month, it's not a good fit. It needs to be a product that has probably a couple $1,000s a month, where you can justify hiring someone to do it, right? Just like if you're going to hire an SDR or kid or a salesperson, it has to be a high enough price for you to pay a certain salary. Same thing with me. I don't want to have someone taking it out of their pocket and going, oh my God, I could barely pay myself. It's not a good fit. And when you're a solopreneur and you're barely paying yourself, then hire me. Because I want to be friends and not have that stress that it's either me or the baby gets food.
Yeah, great point. Well, Michael, this has been awesome. I think we're at time today, so thank you so much for spending some time with us. And I would encourage everybody to connect with Michael. And if you would like to hire him, check out the Calendly link in the chat. This has been very helpful. Thanks, Michael. We'll post the recording so you can reference it as well if you'd like in the next day or so on LinkedIn.
Is there do you do these, since I missed this, do you do these weekly? I mean, I'd love to be a part of these things. I mean,
Yep.
How often do you do it?
Every week, Tuesday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. And Hannah is running the group for us, and she can get you a registration link or get you invited. But yeah, it's welcome to everybody. It's not really a sales group. It's more of just an education, networking, kind of what you said, roundtable. So would love to have you join.
And what's it